Do you think that Hamas will emerge very popular after this war, given what the Palestinians and human rights organizations describe as the ferocious and aggressive Israeli response to the Hamas attacks on October the 7th?
Well, it might be the first reaction. It's not going to last because, I mean, when the dust will go down and they will look around them and they will see that Hamas brought only death and destruction on the people of Gaza. I mean, the Israelis are the victims of Hamas, or the Israelis were the victims of Hamas on October the 7th, and the people of Gaza are the victims of Hamas now. And I think I trust the intelligence of the people of Gaza to understand who brought this destruction upon their heads, and this is Hamas. So maybe they're gaining popularity now, I mean, which is almost understandable in the midst of war. But they're not going to stay popular when the people of Gaza and the Palestinian and the Arab world will understand what horrific destiny was caused by Hamas to the people of Gaza.
Does Israel risk replacing a tactical victory in Gaza with a strategic defeat? That's actually what was said by the U.S. Defense Secretary Austin Lloyd. He believes if Israel drives civilians into the arms of the enemy, and I quote, by not protecting them, then it replaces a tactical victory with a strategic defeat.
Israel has no wish or will to hurt civilians. We are doing everything we can to avoid people who has nothing to do with the terror attacks or with Hamas. The problem we have in Gaza is the problem we always had with Hamas, which is they're using their own people as human shields. It's a monstrous idea, it's a preposterous idea, and people find it very hard to comprehend. But this is the enemy we have to fight. We will do everything in our power to ensure people have water and food and medicine and humanitarian aid. And we are trying to move them away from the battle zone as much as we can. But people have to understand, we will eradicate Hamas in Gaza. We cannot live next to Hamas in Gaza because we saw what is happening when you allow a terror organization to be at your doorstep.
Is a Palestinian state today a necessity? It's high time for the Palestinians to have this long-awaited state, or I'll ask you the other way around. What happened on October the 7th made it more evident and necessary for maybe some Israelis, many Israelis, that the Palestinians shouldn't have their own state?
I think what has happened has postponed the possibility of the two-state solution, of a Palestinian state. And I say this as a supporter of the two-state solution. I think if you look, I mean, for years, for example, those of us who support the Palestinian state always said, but we need to make sure that we have the security measurements that Israel needs just to make sure that our people are safe and sound. The whole concept of what is security for our people has changed on October 7th. So on this, like in so many other issues, Hamas has brought damage. I think it's time for us to remember, Hamas was never, unlike the PLO, Hamas was never, or the PA, for the two-state solution. Hamas is a pan-Arabic fundamentalist Islamic terror organization. They don't think in terms of states, like ISIS and Al-Qaeda. They think on a global, like they want the caliphate that will go from Iraq all the way down to Egypt. So they don't want a Palestinian state, they don't want a two-state solution, and they're doing everything in the evil power to postpone this idea. So I don't think the idea is dead. I think it will be delayed significantly because we need to find ways to secure the safety of our people.
Yeah, but let me correct you here. I mean, Hamas has never said that it wanted to create a khilafah or an Islamic caliphate like the self-styled Daesh or Islamic State, as they call themselves, they haven't ever called for this caliphate, as you said.
Well, I suggest you just read the manifest of Hamas, and you can focus especially on the parts that has to do with Jews and Christians. They want to kill, the one thing that really look similar to ISIS, they want to kill Jews, they want to kill Christians, and they want to kill moderate Muslims.
Is the two-state solution a cliche? Has it become a failure, a diplomatic failure after so many years? It has not materialized so far. Do you think it's a failure?
The fact that there is this evil coalition of Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas, Islamic Jihad doing their best to prevent the idea of peace between Jews and Arabs and Israelis and Palestinians, of course, is not very helpful.
So I just want to get this clear. Did you say it is a failure?
No, I said it's not. It didn't happen yet, and I said there's a lot of obstacles, but countries, unlike people, don't think in years; they think in generations. And our duty is to push forward for the possibility of future generations, Palestinians and Israelis alike, live side by side in peace.
So, do you believe in the two-state
Yes.
camp?
Yeah.
You believe in it?
Yes.
So
I was, as Prime Minister last year on the General Assembly of the UN, I've spoken about the fact that I believe the two-state solution is the right solution.
So what will happen to the Israeli settlements which are regarded illegal by the international community? What are you going to do with nearly 800,000 Israeli citizens who now live in these settlements if the Palestinians want to have their own state?
Basically, any peace agreement is a compromise. Otherwise, it's not an agreement. But let me remind you, with settlements, since '67, since the war, Israel has offered 4 times to the Palestinians a state of their own. And 4 times they declined. The last time I was in government, it was in 2014, when it was the John Kerry framework, so I was part of the negotiating team. So it's firsthand. I'm telling you, we offered them a state. Netanyahu was prime minister, the settlements were there, and we offered them a state. And President Abbas went to the White House, sat with President Obama, he was the president at the time, and said, no way. So they have declined to any opportunity for self-governing, which is a shame. If there will be a Palestinian Authority which has been radicalized, that doesn't teach in schools that Jews are monkeys and pigs, that doesn't cherish a culture of death, we will find ways to compromise our way into peace.
In my conversations with Israelis, they are speaking in unison now. I got the sense that Israel is tilting towards the right wing more than anything in the past. So, I mean, there's a rise in the popularity of the far right and the right wing as well.
I'm happily contradicting you because it has nothing to do with sense. We are polling those things. The far right within the coalition combined has about 14 seats in Knesset. Right now they're polling about between 7 to 10. So the numbers shows otherwise. And I'm happy about this because I think they're a threat to the country. And but they're not gaining popularity because, you know, it's interestingly enough, when they're in power, when they're part of the coalition, people tend to notice the fact that they're very good at shouting and marching, but they're not very good at governing.
Does Israel face an existential threat from Hamas and Hezbollah in particular?
No. Hamas and Hezbollah, I mean, Hezbollah is a far stronger terror organization, but these are terror organizations. We are still the strongest military power in the region. They are threats, but they are not existential threats. We are here to stay. The one thing the Arab world has to understand is we are not guests in the Middle East. We are here to stay. Israel is going to stay. And Israel is reaching out to any Saudis, Emirates, any country, and the beginning of any dialogue needs to start with the full understanding that we are not going to go anywhere. And Hezbollah and Hamas, they are the ones who are going to disappear long before we will.
How about the wider picture, Iran? Do you think a dialogue with Iran is possible, or the confrontation is the best answer you've got?
Well, if there's one thing October the 7th, it didn't teach us, it reminded us, is that you cannot deal with fundamentalists, brutal fundamentalists. If Iran will totally dismantle its nuclear program, if Iran will totally dismantle the militias they've been sending all around the Middle East in order to undermine any other government, Saudi, Israeli, all of them. If Iran stopped being the big financier of terror all around the world, then maybe we will be able to start a negotiation. The current day Iran is none of the above, and therefore it's not to be negotiated with, but to make sure we all stand together opposite their terror.